sport, brother. It's a bad man thing, isn't it? G'day guys, welcome back to the channel, and behind us we have got a Mark X, and it is not just any Mark X, guys. This is the GS edition. So this is a 350S GS, and yeah, it is a hot car. This thing is kind of like a budget-friendly IS 350 F Sport. I've reviewed one of those before. It's still got the same 3.5 liter V6 up front. It is rear wheel drive. It's a 6-speed auto. We do have paddle shifters though. And this thing really was only sold to the Japanese market. And this thing we can import now here in Australia. It is actually pretty damn quick. It's cool as hell to look at. We've got a GS body kit on this thing. So we've got the front bar, the headlights, that is all factory. And we've got some 19-inch forged BBS wheels on this thing. We've got some bigger GS brakes, little lip spoiler, some Altezza style taillights here. This is all factory, guys. And we do have a aftermarket exhaust though on this particular one. So it does sound a little bit more fruity, which you gotta like coming from a 3.5 liter V6 up front. So today in this video, we're gonna review it, we're gonna drive it, we're gonna find out, should you buy one of these things? Should you possibly import one? And what it's really just all about. So yeah, without further ado, guys, let's jump in this thing, fire it up, do a little bit of a sound check. Yo, I gotta say something, guys. This thing, it does actually move. Yeah, this is a healthy 315 horsepower. I think it's just over 230 kilowatts for those of you in Australia. And dude, again, the fact, rear wheel drive, we can actually turn the traction control off with a simple button, unlike the Orion. And yeah, dude, this is cool. This is a cool car. Again, doing some research on this thing, I had no idea, but this is actually the car of Jamaica. Like, Jamaica is absolutely obsessed with this thing. It is called the Jamaican Lamborghini, the Jamaican SRT, Hellcat, you know what I mean? They froth these things. And there are a couple of Jamaican videos. It's literally all you can find, really, of these vehicles on YouTube. And some of these guys are getting close to 500 wheel horsepower in these things. It's absolutely hectic. And yeah, even in this trim, like, dude, you put your foot down, it definitely moves. And look, the great thing about this Mark X is that it's a Toyota, and when you're not on it, it just feels like a really comfortable, well-built daily. Like, you know, this thing does have an eco mode, like, you know, you can just cruise around town, and this thing just feels really well put together. It does. But again, when you get out on a nice windy road, you know, pop this thing into sport mode, start using the paddles, and yeah, it goes. Get this thing over 4,000 RPM. Red line hits around 6,800 RPM. Yeah, it's party time. Traction control came on there. Yeah, I love the fact this thing is rear wheel drive, and it just feels tight. It feels good. Now, what do you actually get with the GS edition over, say, just a standard Mark X? Because there are a few different variants, and essentially, the GS Sport was, at the time, one of the highest trim levels you could basically get in this car. And you got a 3-piece body kit. So, again, the front bumper is different. You had a rear little spoiler wing, you know, some side skirts on this thing. You had the 19-inch BBS wheels on here. This thing did get lowered, I believe 20 mil at the front, 15 at the rear. And it did have an upgraded exhaust system from factory. Now, this particular one, it does have an upgraded exhaust system once more. So it is a Kakimoto exhaust, I believe. Now on the inside, you got a red GS push button start. You had these nice leather with some Alcantara in the middle GS seats, which I gotta say, extremely comfortable. And you also got a bit of faux carbon thrown around the place. So it is actually a pretty nice looking, comfortable place to sit. I do like this. It does have a upgraded infotainment system here, you know, as all the JDM imports generally do. But besides that, it's just a nice example. Now under the bonnet, this thing, again, it's got the 3.5 liter V6. It is the 2GR FSE. 230 kilowatts, 315 horsepower, rear wheel drive, and we've got the 6-speed automatic. Now, the one thing that is a little bit of a letdown, the 6-speed, it isn't the fastest gearbox. So you do have some paddle shifters on here. It's just not quick. It's just not. You've got a solid 1 to 2 second delay really when you're upshifting. You know, downshifting is about a second, but it's just not quite there, unfortunately. And again, even just coming through some of this windy section, it's got a little bit of body roll to it. It does, but it is stiff enough. And yet the ride is still soft enough that you're not getting shaken around the place. Leans a little bit. You know, the steering is it's not scapular. It is a tiny bit on the vague side, but it's still plenty enough to you know, have fun in this car. Absolutely. And again, at the end of the day, again, it's a Toyota. You know, it's basically a Lexus, this thing, just badged as a Toyota, and you got to anticipate a little bit more softness in this thing rather than hardcore sportiness. But at that same token, when you're on the limit of this thing, you start getting close to red line, yeah, this thing does move, and it is a lot of fun. Guys, don't forget, if you're enjoying this type of content, subscribe to the channel. We're chasing that 100K goal, and it really would make a big difference if you just hit that red button. So subscribe if you're enjoying the content, guys. Let's do a launch. What do you say in this Mark X? Let's do it. All right, now it is time for the 0 to 100 powered by C-Tech, guys. And just gonna come to a stop. Got this thing in sport mode. Reset the draggy. And here we go. Oh, dude. We literally just lit it up. There's no launch control, unfortunately. This thing would really help with some launch control because, man, it actually just lights it up. But let's have a look at the time. 0 to 100 we got there in 5.61 seconds. And I gotta say, dude, you could shave that off. You could tweak this thing, and I reckon you'd be under 5.5 seconds pretty repetitively. It's just getting the traction bite, because the first time she just lit it up. The second time bogged a little bit, but it's just finding that balance. You get that right balance, this thing is going to be 5 seconds all day. And yeah, that's impressive. It is. All right, now it is time for the WiperTech wiper test. Again, if you want the best wipers in Australia, make sure you click the link down below. Get a set from me. Use my code ROSS15 off. And yep, the wiper stick's just on the left-hand side here. We're going to pull it up. All right, we get a nice sort of even spray here. Not too shabby. Not too shabby, Toyota. That's a pretty good swipe. Little bit of smudging, but hey, unless you got the WiperTech wipers, that's gonna happen. So look, at the end of the day, I'm gonna still give that a solid 8 out of 10. Not bad. So yeah, pretty good wipers on the Mark X. The cool thing about the Mark X is a lot of people tend to go and import the Crowns. The Crowns have been the big import buzz here in Australia for, say, the last 2 years, 3 years. The Mark X hasn't. And the Mark X was cheaper than the Crowns, from my knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, these things are sort of slept on. And look, I love the Crown. It's a beautiful car. It's a great car. But there's a lot more hype around the Crown now. So I think you can actually get these at a bit more of a budget price point. And this thing, again, the fact it's rear-wheel drive, V6 up front. It's a Lexus, boy. This thing is an IS350 F Sport with a Toyota badge. That's what it is. And yeah, it goes, man. It goes. Budget 350 F Sport right here. Here in Australia, you're generally looking to get a Mark X between $15,000 and $30,000. Now, this particular one being a GS edition, it's going to be on the higher end. You're probably looking at 20 grand plus. But if you do hunt around in Japan, you find a good importer, it is possible to get yourself a bargain under that price point. And honestly, that's a huge amount of car, this thing, if you could get it under 20 grand. It really, really is. And look, I've done some fun Toyotas as well in the past. You know, Australia, we had the Orion TRD, which an amazing, amazing Australia-only vehicle. But it was front-wheel drive. They didn't make it rear-wheel drive. They made this rear-wheel drive, and they didn't make the Orion rear-wheel drive. Like, if only. Because that actually had, I believe, the same engine, but it was supercharged from factory. So, you know, if only this thing was supercharged, having that TRD blower, rear-wheel drive now, man, this is what it needed. This is really what it needed. But, yeah, fair credit to Toyota for making this Mark X. It's a blast of a car. It is a nice car. Now, as for fuel economy, guys, look, I'm not actually sure what the manufacturer is quoted, but I've got it up on the screen here. It's saying 7.5 kilometers per liter. So I'm going to have to do some math to get the liters per 100 Ks. So I'll put it up on the screen right now, but this thing should be fairly economical as long as you're not going crazy in it. But this is really what we lack in today's automotive industry. Again, like a fun, practical sports car. They just don't make them anymore. And when are these manufacturers going to wake up to the music? Nobody wants your shitty EV. The EV sales are at an all-time low. Like, you're getting nowhere with them. You're wasting billions of dollars. And you're just making us have the crappiest auto industry. So many new cars come out, and I just don't even want to get in them. There's only so few new cars I'll even review. And it really is just such a shame because we had the recipe. You know, from 1990 till the late 2000s, like 2010, maybe we can go up to 2015. That was the golden era. And this particular one, I believe, is 2013. It falls in that Goldilocks circle because this is fun to drive. It makes noise. It's practical. It's economical. It's pretty good looking. Like, it's cheap to buy. None of those qualities you can put into today's cars. Unless you have $1 million in the bank, you just can't do it. And it is such a crying shame. I am so sick of it. And I really hope companies wake up to the fact. I'm so happy that Hyundai is still making the i30N. I love that car. But besides that, you know, again, there's just really not much out there, guys. And it's a shame. Now, guys, I'm going to finish the video off here today. So, again, what do we think of the Mark X 350S GS Sport? Well, this is a fantastic car. And it's a fantastic car because it just sort of does everything well. You know, it's reliable. It's got a good build quality feel to it. These things are relatively inexpensive. And it's pretty fun to drive, too. It really is. It's pretty quick. And it just sort of ticks all the boxes. So, guys, if you want one of these things, you think it looks nice, you might want one, I reckon go for it. This is a fantastic car. It should hold its value. It should run forever. And maintenance and everything like that should be relatively inexpensive. So, yeah, big thumbs up from me. I like the Mark X. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe. We'll see you on that next video.